Yo, what's up guys? So today I'm going to make a video on the Pokemon that you should look out for, or the Pokemon I think are good for free-to-play players or budget players. Because I know not everyone has access to Kyogre, Regigigas, Pokemon like that I mentioned in my last video. So this video I'm going to highlight the important Pokemon that you should look out for, or the best Pokemon that you should look out for the categories that I mentioned before on the last video. So first we're going to go with healer Pokemon. So for healer Pokemon, most of the healers, I think all the healers are pretty free to play except for Jirachi, but even then Jirachi, it's kind of like an up and down thing between Lilligant and Jirachi. Jirachi is much bulkier and it buffs the stats of all your Pokemon in the HP category. But Lilligant, I think it heals overall for more because it has 2 healing effects. And the percentage is much higher compared to Jirachi's. But either way, so we're going to look at that right now. So we're going to go to Orange. We're going to go to Heal. So these are all the different Pokemon that can heal you, or that have some kind of healing mechanic in the game. Of all these, the only ones I would say are worth it for free-to-play players are Milotic right here and Lilligant. So Milotic I would recommend for free-to-play players because she has a survive mechanic. If she were to get hit and another Pokemon were to get hit and the Pokemon that got hit were to die, Milotic actually saves it, provided that Milotic is slower than the other Pokemon. The difference between Lilligant and Milotic has that survive mechanic. Lilligant heals more, but that's pretty much all it has. It has a passive heal. So every time it's your turn, and it's Lilligant's turn, she heals with her ability. Even if she runs out of SP, she'll be able to heal them for something. She doesn't have the survive mechanic, and if you want to clear debuffs, it's going to be a separate attack, unlike Shelter from Milotic. For people playing, I would recommend using Milotic until you get around the 2 or 3 million power range. Then I would switch into Lilligant because by then you have like an established team. You've already buffed your defensive and HP stats, so you'll be able to survive, and you'll just need to heal off instead of not dying with Milotic. For supportive Pokemon that support you with offense, the best option, since not a lot of people have access to Ash Charizard or Ash Greninja Shaman, newly added to the game, the best one would only be available to budget players, which would be Zapdos. With Light Screen, Zapdos is going to be the bulkiest of all of them. So Zapdos, once it goes to Mega, so these are its base stats. It's pretty difficult to break, so for the most part, you're going to stay in that same base stat range. It has access to Light Screen. So Light Screen increases everyone's attack damage by 15% for 3 rounds, so it stacks 3 times total. It's not going to do the 20% that Ash Greninja and Ash Charizard and Shaman do. It's pretty close. This is the best you're going to get for being a budget player. If you are not a budget player, though, there is another option. Porygon Z. It sounds pretty weird. Porygon Z is actually really... The good thing about these Pokemon, the Pokemon that only go to Orange, that don't go to Red, that aren't hard to get, the good thing about them is that they're easy to break. So, let's say there's a Porygon in your Safari Zone. You catch one Porygon, that's the original one. You need to catch another one to break it. You need to catch 2 more to get it to break 2. You catch 4 more and it'll be break 3. So once you get to break 3, or a Gen 3 Porygon Z, its stats, all its base stats are going to increase by 25. So every time you break the Pokemon, their stats are going to increase. They get new attacks or new skills. So if you add 25 to its base stats, it's going to have 110 HP, 115 defense, physical defense, and it's going to have 120 special defense. So that's not that far off from Zapdos. So it's almost just as bulky as Zapdos once you get it to break 3. And when you add 25 to all the other stats, it's going to hit harder, but you're not really going to use them to hit if you don't have to. So Porygon Z is actually a really, really good choice because not a lot of people are going to get to break their Zapdos. The second best one would be a Volcarona. So Volcarona has the same the same kind of move. It has Swords Dance. So the difference between Swords Dance and Light Screen is that Light Screen boosts the damage that your team puts out, and Swords Dance increases their physical and special attack by 15%. So if you had a healer Pokemon, Volcarona would actually be better because it would increase their special attack, which in turn would heal the amount of HP that they heal because it's dependent on their special attack stat. So that one also stacks 3 times. It's only 20, which is really good because you always stay at 100 SP. And once you add 25 to every stat, it's going to be... it's not going to deal a lot of damage, so it's only supportive Pokemon. But it's going to be pretty fast. It's going to be 125 base speed, 130 special defense, which is really good. Special attack is going to be 160. It's really good, but it only has single target Flame Wheel. That's not important. The only bad thing is it's going to have a pretty below average physical defense at 90. It's still usable, and its HP is going to be at 110. So it's a usable Pokemon, and it also has the ability Flame Body. So while this is helping your team deal damage, with Swords Dance, if they attack it, there's a chance that it's going to get burned. The more you star it up, the higher the percentage is going to go. So Volcarona and Porygon Z are your best options for a free-to-play player. For the defensive Pokemon, the best option, because not everyone's going to have options, the option to use Regigigas, the best option would be getting a Salamence. So at first look, you're like, okay, Salamence, regular Salamence doesn't have that good of moves because it doesn't have sustainable moves that are, with its physical attack, but you're using it as a supportive Pokemon. So we go to Mega Salamence. It's able to go Mega, so it'll have 120 HP, 115 physical defense, 120 special defense. So Bagons come out sometimes in the Safari Zone. That's something you have to look out for. They're not always going to come out. If you do get it, please try to catch as much as you can, because if you don't have access to Regigigas, this is the best defensive support in the game. It only has growth right now, like before you break it. If you get your Salamence to break 1, right here, it gets access to break growth. So break growth increases their physical and special defenses by 30% for 4 rounds. So that's gonna end up boosting their defenses more than Regigigas will, which is really good. The only downside is gonna take 2 more turns to set it up, but it's really, really, really good. Once you get it to break 3, add 25 to all of its stats. All you need to do is give it a mental herb, and break growth is going to be self-sustained. You're always going to be at 100, so if you had to use something like Disable Breath, you'll always have it handy. So Mega Salamence, best Pokemon you can use for boosting defensive stats if you don't have access to Regigigas. The next best one would be Snorlax. So not all Pokemon that only go to orange are bad. There are a few exceptions. Snorlax is one of them. If you can get your hands on a bunch of little Munchlax that come out in the Safari Zone, you'll be pretty good to go. So if we take a look at Snorlax, it's already bulkier than Regigigas is. It has more HP, a high physical defense, pretty good special defense. The difference is you're going to be able to break them, so you just add 25 to all of its defensive and HP stats, and it's going to be a big monster. In addition to that, its ability increases the whole team's physical and special defense stats the moment they're in battle. So it's a passive. So it's like an extra 10%, almost 10%, once you get it maxed out, and it's always there. Then it has Aroma Guard. So Aroma Guard does 40% of physical and special defense. The only downside is that it lowers your physical and special attack by 10% for 2 rounds. But I think the trade-off is better, especially because Snorlax will almost guarantee you that your Pokemon will survive long enough to, outlast them. When they run out of steam, Snorlax is going to make sure you don't die. All you need to do is give it a Lepa Berry, and it's going to sustain by itself. If you get it to break 2, its ability, its break ability will give you 10 extra SP per round. So you'll gain 35 a round. So all you need to do is give it a mental herb, and it's going to be self-sustaining the whole time. You'll never have to worry about it not using Aroma Guard. And if you have a Pokemon from the previous class, the support classes, you'll end up doing more damage than Snorlax is taking away from you. So that's really, really good. If you don't have access to Snorlax or Salamence, one of the things you'll always have access to if you go to Event Center, go to Exchange, you take a look right here, you have EX Ninetales. So EX Ninetales has a pretty good, really good HP stat, good physical defense and special defense, and it has Ice Wall. So Ice Wall increases their physical and special stats by 25% for 3 rounds. It does more than regular growth, less than break growth, and it only lasts for 3 rounds. The good thing about Ninetales is that it's going to be pretty easy to break. You get 50 points from the shop every day if you don't spend any gems. I mean, if you don't recharge anything. It takes 80. You're going to need 9. So you're going to need 720 points, which is going to take roughly around... It's going to take 14 days worth of points if you don't spend any money on the game to get you an EX Ninetales. In a month, you'll have EX Ninetales Break 2. There are a lot of Pokemon you can use to sweep. If you are free to play, that's a good thing. If you started off with, let's say, Charizard, which I would recommend, Charizard is very good early game and it's very good late game. It's not a Pokemon you could go wrong with. Venusaur is really, really good early game and it gets really bad late game. Blastoise is bad early game and it gets really good late game. So Charizard is the Pokemon that stays constant throughout. So for free to play players, you know, you have your starter Pokemon. You could always use that as a sweeper. The best Pokemon to use would be Dragonite, Garchomp, and Gyarados. So Dragonite, everyone can get a Dratini for $2. The first recharge they do. If you don't have $2, sometimes it comes out in the Safari Zone. Once you break it, it's going to be really, really good. It gains 10 extra SP when it gets to its second break. It's going to make Dragon Hammer much better. Garchomp is almost the same thing as Dragonite, but it hits harder and it lasts slightly less. But it's really, really, really good. The game recently added Mega Gyarados. And Mega Gyarados, if you can get it to break 3, is ridiculous. You add 25 to every stat. And the good thing about Mega Gyarados, what makes it really stand out from the other Pokemon, is that it has this ability. So every time it gets hit, if you get it maxed out, it increases physical attack, special defense, and physical defense. And it can be stacked 10 times total every time it's hit. If it's hit 5 times in a turn because all your enemies' Pokemon hit it, it's going to do a huge, huge amount. Another great addition that the game decided to add for free-to-play players or budget players is a Metagross. So it used to only go up to Metagross. Now we have Mega Metagross. So Mega Metagross, it has huge physical defense. Easy to break because Beldums are everywhere early in the game. The thing about Mega Metagross, why it stands out, you know, why you would choose this maybe over Gyarados, is whenever it gets below 20% HP, it heals for 1/3 of its HP. So if it goes to 19 HP, it's gonna be back up to, let's say, 52. And it also got this cool move, Meteor Mash, which has a huge base power, hits 4 enemies, which is really, really good spread for 55. It's a really, really good Pokemon all around. Another Pokemon that people don't really give enough credit is this Ampharos. So Ampharos is probably the best Pokemon for free to play or budget players because Mareeps are everywhere. The game gives them out like candy. So Mega Ampharos is a huge tank. Your 140 special defense, 115 physical defense, 120 HP. And the reason why it's a really good tank is because its ability is static. So when they hit it, there's a chance that they're going to get paralyzed and skip their next turn. So if every single one of your opponent's Pokemon hit Ampharos that turn, there's a 44% chance per Pokemon that they won't attack the next round. And that's really, really good. It also has a good spread attack, Dragon's Breath, which also has a chance to paralyze them. It's a really, really good Pokemon to have. Easy to break. It's going to have huge, huge stats. 195 base special attack when you break them. If you get the lifetime card, Moltres would be the best option for damage output. So Moltres has really, really high stats in attack, and it has the move Sunny Day, which moves most of its physical attack stat into its special attack, and it just sets it up really, really nicely. Also with the other Pokemon, it's going to be a huge, huge threat. So you can't go wrong really with either choosing Zapdos or Moltres from the lifetime. I would not really choose Articuno personally. Other Pokemon that are easy for free-to-play players to use is EX Arcanine. So EX Arcanine goes into VAR Arcanine. It's pretty fragile, can easily die. You get it to break 3, it's going to have pretty good HP. Barely decent physical and special defense after everything. So you can have a huge physical attack stat. The only problem is that it doesn't have much moves that can take advantage of that. Noble Roar is the only one because it has spread. Everything else is single target. You can, instead of making it a physical attacker, you can switch into special attack because after you get it to break 3, it'll have 200 base special attack. So you can just take advantage of using the move you learned back here, which is Flamethrower. It's pretty good base stat for base power for 50 SP. Downside is that it only hits 3 enemies. It's a really good Pokemon to have also if you're free to play or budget player, because you can get EX Arcanine right here from the exchange shop. It's gonna take a bit longer. If you do have some leftover money, or if you have the ability to pay for shards or pay for diamonds and stuff, one of the things you could get, one of the things I would recommend, there are a few options that are a bit better. EX Metagross turns into VAR Metagross. It has a bigger physical attack stat, way bigger physical defense stat, good HP, good special defense. So the reason I think this is better, it has a much lower speed stat, but for your sleeper Pokemon, you're gonna want them to move after your defensive and supportive Pokemon. So I don't feel like that's that much of an issue. The downside is that he has Dark Wave only, so he doesn't have the Meteor Mash, but I feel like his huge stats make up for it a lot. It's a really good Pokemon, has the same ability to heal itself, and since it has higher defensive stats, it's going to survive much easier, so it's more likely that it reaches 20%. So Mega Metagross definitely one to look out for. The reason why I would not choose EX Dragonite over regular Dragonite is because it's very hard to break. You're going to need 8 total VAR Dragonites to get it to break 3, and it's not even a physical attacker, so its high physical attack stat is not very threatening. The regular Dragonite is much easier to break. I would recommend it over EX Dragonite unless you're using a team that specifically you would need a special attacker. And one of the things the game was very nice about, they added a small summer event where you can get this little buddy right here. You can get a Vanillite, eventually turns to Vanillix. Not super bulky, but you can break him pretty easily, and it'll end up being a very big threat. So those are the Pokemon I would recommend for free to play or for budget players. Just make sure you catch multiple of the same Pokemon if you're trying to break them. Make sure you don't have it under Assist, you don't have it under Pokemon Master, Following, Arena, or anything, because then you won't be able to sacrifice it for break. So you just hit right here, hit the break, and it'll give you the option to break it. You'll see if you have any. I don't have currently any other Snorlax, so I can't break it. Of all the Pokemon that you can get, I'm not saying the ones that are not on the list are bad, but of all the options you have, these are some of the better ones that you have for free-to-play or for budget players. This video is going to help out a lot of free-to-play and budget players. If you can get this to your guild leader, if you're a guild leader, get it to your guild mates. Help them get stronger. After seeing this video, I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to, see what they need on their team. And with these Pokemon, you're basically going to build the same kind of stage climbing and expedition gym climbing team that I have, which I think is one of the most effective ones. As you can see, I'm almost on the last map already. It hasn't even been that long since my last video. I passed every gym except for the last one. I finished the expedition. So it's a really good structure for a team to have, a defensive buffer, healer, something that buffs your Pokemon's attack stats. I chose to have Charizard to lower their defenses with Leer. That's my tech. I could either have a third sweeper or I could have another support. I chose to have another support, which is Charizard, and then I have my sweeper Pokemon to take advantage. So that's basically it. Also, guys, I will be doing a giveaway. Once I get to 100 subscribers, I will give 2 $30 iTunes cards so people can get lifetime cards. The only thing you have to do is make sure you're a subscriber, make sure you like every one of my videos and comment on them. Make sure you leave a suggestion. And also, don't be afraid to join our Discord channel. We have a lot of people joining the Discord. So, yeah, I guess until next time, guys. Peace.